So let's talk about the recently announced PlayStation Portal. Now, when it was first, kind of revealed as rumors, I was pretty hard on it because I thought it was a genuinely dumb device. But since then, I think my thoughts on it have actually changed and I've actually gotten warmer to the idea. And the reason why basically has to do with my recent experience using PlayStation Remote Play in my own house to play a game. So if you don't know, the PlayStation Portal will just be a remote play device. Like that's all that it does. It doesn't do any local gameplay on it whatsoever. All it is meant to do is to connect your PS5 so that you can play your PS5 in another room in your house or somewhere else as long as you have a decent Wi-Fi connection. So there are obvious limitations to that, but I think that in a way, those limitations allow it to be the device that it is because it allows you to then hit that price point that is actually not so much money that you might be actually interested in trying it out. So that is the advantage of that. That's the advantage that you receive. Now, when it comes to the actual remote play experience that I have, a Razer Kishi. This is what this thing is. So basically, it's a strap on. You strap it to your phone, you attach it to your phone, and then it becomes a controller. And then you can use the remote play app on your phone in order to, eventually get the whole thing kind of like connected to your PlayStation. And it's fine, except that it's not actually. I have an issue with this device because it doesn't natively work with the PlayStation Remote Play app. Okay, I'm not sure if that's because my phone is a bit of an older generation, or because just this version, the version 1, just isn't compatible. I think they said that version 2 is compatible with the PlayStation app natively, but it is what it is. It doesn't work. So instead, I have to use a third-party app which then will connect and will work. And a lot of people have reported that third party app is actually a little bit better with the remote play experience in a wider kind of set of conditions, but it kind of sucks that it isn't just the built-in experience, if you get what I mean. But anyways, beyond that, once you do get it connected, I still have issues with this. So number one, it takes up your phone. Now this is a major inconvenience. Even though I was playing late at night when I didn't want to necessarily be texting with people or receiving phone calls, people do still text me. I have friends that live in different time zones, and then notifications come in and then they intrude upon your gaming experience. If you then want to go out of the app and then connect to your messages or your phone calls, now you have your phone inside this whole strap-on device thing. Very unintuitive to kind of use your default programs. It's a whole thing. It makes your phone basically unusable, ergonomically wise, for anything but the gaming that you were supposed to be doing. So the fact that it takes over your phone, not the best, really not the best. Then you have the issue of the fact that it drains your battery life, not this device specifically, but the fact that you're using remote play on your phone. And even though this device has a pass-through for charging, you pretty much need that because unless you have like really high battery life at the end of the day, well, you're just going to be draining your phone. So if you want to get like a half hour of gaming or something, it just becomes yet another thing that you have to think about. Essentially, so what I'm trying to say is that while this device is portable and you can take it on the go, and it's actually a really good solution on the go, which the PlayStation Portal is not. At home, I didn't really love it. Then finally, we have the ergonomics of it. I really, really do like the ergonomics of it. Once you actually have the phone inside the whole, shebang, it's actually quite comfortable to use. I really like it. I like it better than I do the Nintendo Switch. And I've got big hands. And so I really like the ergonomics, but still not great compared to like a DualShock or a DualSense controller. I don't love the asymmetric stick layout. It works fine. Don't love it. You don't have a touchpad, which is again another thing that it's like, well, in certain games I actually do like using my touchpad a lot. For example, playing Horizon Forbidden West and things like that. So while this is a great device, there are inherent limitations with it that sort of just keep getting in the way. It's like, okay, it is a portable device, but it is an external device to your phone. So what it is great on the go, I literally never bring it out anywhere. Never in my life have I gone out with this, and I've had this thing for over 2 years now. Never in my life have I gone out and think like, oh, I should bring this in just in case. It's not a pick up and go device for me. Like, it's not just like ready to go with me. It really isn't, and I never use it on the go. Therefore, and I never use it anywhere else. Therefore, then there's the limitations with it. There's the fact that it takes over your phone. So if you're basically going to go out and play during the day, where you are going to get a lot more interruptions in case you happen to be that kind of person that has like a really active, people are just texting you every single time of the day. Not great, not great at all. The fact that you will be draining your phone's battery life, which is, an important device. When I had a PlayStation Vita, I used to have one, then I lost it basically. What I really loved about playing remote play through the Vita was that I didn't have to be using my phone. I really like the fact that it was a all-in-one device. I could just turn on remote play and I could connect to my PlayStation 4 at the time, and then that was it. It was great. It was fantastic, and I would actually take it out way more often than I did this. Like, my PlayStation Vita went with me almost everywhere, and I would remote play on it quite constantly. Another thing you have to kind of realize with remote play is that inherently there's going to be some lag. Now, this device could minimize that amount of lag, especially when you're on your home network. But even if you could use it outside through hotspotting with your phone and everything, I just think that certain types of gaming experiences are best avoided on a remote play setup. So for me, I have a collection in my PlayStation that is arranged that says specifically remote play, where I've played a game and I think to myself, this is really well compatible with remote play. So point and click games, like I played Disco Elysium recently, turn by turn games, when you just do not have to have fast reaction times. Very, cinematic kind of games, a lot of indie games kind of fall into this category, or very arcadey games where failure doesn't necessarily mean that you lose. So, for example, a game like Hades is not really a game that you would think of as remote play because it is quite fast paced. But it's like in Hades, I could just go for a run, and it's like if I'm outside, if I lose, I don't really mind because the game is kind of meant to kind of have that kind of constant progression, just run after run after run. And so it's like, yes, mechanically, it doesn't really work well with remote play with latency in mind, but when it's like the effect of dying, it's almost a positive thing just because of the way the game was designed. So that is remote play. So now, what are the advantages that I see then with the PlayStation Portal? Number one, it will basically be like my PlayStation Vita. It will allow me to essentially remove my phone from the equation. And I really, really like that. That is a big convenience because being able to leave it by my bedside, be able to pick it up at the end of the day, it's going to be charged, don't have to think about it, and I will still be able to have access to my phone. And let's face it, sometimes you are playing a game and you might get stuck somewhere and you might be like, oh, wait, I need a guide, I need something to show me is essentially what I'm supposed to be doing. And be able to do a quick query on your own phone without having to necessarily get away from this app, do this, do that. It's an advantage that I treasure. So big convenience factor. Another one is being able to basically have what should be the best remote play experience. And I think this is the key. This device needs to remote play better than any other, especially on your home network. One of the things that I had when I was playing Disco Elysium with this thing is that even though everything was connected through Wi-Fi, I experienced a lot, and I mean a lot of lag and delay input and just data packets not being sent. Like the screen would get pixelated and everything. It didn't happen every time, but it happened enough that I just stopped playing. And it was frustrating because it's like, well, what do I buy this for then? If it's not good on the go for me because I never bring it on the go, and it's not great at home, then it's like, well, I will shy away more and more from using it. And the thing is, I've had this for 2 years and I've used it a few dozen times, and that's because just, time and again, I find that there are issues with it. Now, I have a really, really great Wi-Fi router. I have one of those super expensive jet plane looking, Wi-Fi routers that goes for like $400 or something. And then I have a Wi-Fi extender, which is also like a really high-end Wi-Fi extender and everything. So in terms of Wi-Fi coverage in my house, I'm quite confident that my network should be able to keep up with whatever remote play needs. And like I said, on most nights it does, but on some nights it doesn't. So that cannot be the same with this device. It cannot sometimes just lose data packets for no reason. So if it is a truly seamless experience, that is going to be the first thing that the first bar that it has to clear. Then the other thing that it will need to do is, of course, have the ergonomics of the DualSense, which it already does. And I know that this device looks silly. I know that it does. I know that it looks unconventional, but it looks comfortable AF, and I just need that. I am telling you, I hate the Switch. I am a Switch hater. And even when the next Switch is announced, I know they're not going to give me these ergonomics. And so I never, ever play the Switch on portable mode. Like, it may as well not exist to me. The Switch Lite is the most useless device on earth to me. It is less useful than a paperweight because I will never put my fingers through those ergonomics again. I tried using a normal Switch in using the Joy-Cons, and I hated the experience so badly I nearly like broke the thing right then and there. I think ergonomics for a handheld are important. And I've always thought to myself, why don't you just do what they essentially did? Just take normal controllers, handles, and ergonomics, and then put a screen in between them. And yes, it looks silly, but I'm sorry, your fingers will thank you, your hands will thank you, and I think it will just give you long, comfortable gaming sessions. On top of that, it gives me the DualSense features, which I appreciate. To some people, they are gimmicks. To me, they are actually valid, genuine parts of games. Like, I cannot imagine playing Returnal without the DualSense. Like, how would that even work? I'm so used to the L2 halfway in order to get into one mode of shooting, and then all the way in order to do my alternate shooting mode. So I don't even want to think about realigning my brain and my muscle memory to that experience. And the thing is, I love playing Returnal, and it is a game that, in spite of its fast pace, I would actually play on the go. Like, I would actually play through via remote play. Number one, because I would just be doing the arcade mode, the Tower Sisyphus. Number two, because again, I'm so familiar with the game, I'm so familiar with its beat and its tempo, that I feel quite confident that in spite of the fast pace, I could actually do quite well using remote play, especially if it's a seamless experience. So having the DualSense features built in right then and there, that is way better than whatever I can get on this. And again, on certain games like Horizon Forbidden West, the DualSense features, that are nice to have. You don't really need them. On this though, on a game like Returnal, I have to have them. It is literally a game mechanic mode that I do not have access to if I don't have the DualSense. Like, I've never tried it, but I don't want to think to myself, oh, I need to press this thing halfway myself and not feel that block, and then having to push past it. Like, yeah. But then let's talk about the cons and the things that are going to keep me from actually playing it. So again, for now, I'm just going to assume that it is going to be a flawless remote play device, as long as your Wi-Fi internet is good, and it's going to make that easy. So the first con for me is going to be the fact that it has no way to play any games locally. Now, this is kind of like, it is what it is. This is what the device is. You can't ask a Toyota to go as fast as a Ferrari. Like, it's a Toyota. So, you kind of you take the good with the bad on that one. But it does bother me. I almost wish that they would make a PlayStation Portal Pro that would at least allow you to like sideload or to download natively PlayStation 4 games, and then that would be a whole other thing. But then that's like a whole handheld and a whole other ecosystem. Point is, that's a whole other device. But it does bother me that there's no way to play any games locally on it whatsoever, no matter how light the game might be, because it would have been fantastic to be able to load, some kind of indie games and indie titles like Inscription and other games that just, there might be even 4 gigs or less or 10 gigs or less. Be able to get 4 or 5 of those on the device is literally all that I will ask for. Another thing is that it doesn't have any local media playback. So when you think about it, if you're on a plane, you can't have sideloaded like your Netflix, you can't have downloaded like Netflix shows to watch or something on the device, which would be a little bit strange. I understand, because of the way that the device looks, it's not quite a tablet, but I think it would just give it that extra functionality. Or being able to, edit your gameplay on the go, like if we could capture and then transfer those files to the remote play device, so that when you're away from, basically be able to play your PlayStation. At least you could edit your videos and everything. That would be, it would be cool if you had some kind of like ancillary features that you could use, but basically it doesn't. And I'm gonna have to be okay with that. I can't just keep asking a shoe to be a hammer. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But part of me wishes that it had that. The second thing that I wish that it had is a better screen. We are now in the era where Sony has already released PlayStation handhelds with OLED screens, and coming from an OLED screen in my main room and using an OLED on my phone, I'm not sure how it's going to basically stand up now. This is going to be a downgraded experience from playing, on the big TV. So it's like, again, it comes with the territory, but it would have made it just a little bit sweeter, just a little bit more acceptable if it had that OLED thing, even if it was just as a marketing ploy, or if at least they could come up and come out and be like, this is one of the best LCD screens in terms of black levels around. Well, the jury is still out on that one, but if they haven't really made a big kind of marketing push around it, I'm thinking it's kind of a run-of-the-mill LCD, and it's like, I really kind of wish it was an OLED, but again, it isn't, so we'll just move past that. The big one, by far, is the lack of Bluetooth support for headphones. I like sound, right? Like I've got a bunch of decent, we'll call them decent. I've got a bunch of decent headphones and everything. They do have wired plug-in, and this one does as well. And part of me admires kind of like the commitment to good sound, because so many people take it away. I take it for granted. But it needs to be said, you should have had Bluetooth support on it. And so let's talk about that. So they come up with this new PlayStation Link, which I believe is a terrible idea in terms of what you should call the protocol that you're going to have. I'm not sure if it's just a software-based protocol. I imagine there's some kind of specific hardware that must be in there. Otherwise, they would retroactively kind of retrofit most of their devices, most of the high-end devices from Sony themselves, to support this PlayStation Link standard. But I think there's a problem in the naming alone, because, look, Sony, if you are going to do this, if you're going to now say, okay, here is a new wireless standard that provides lossless audio, I applaud you. But if you're going to do it to the exclusion of Bluetooth, then it's like, well, you need to make this PlayStation Link protocol a standard thing on all devices going forward. Like, it can't just be a PlayStation thing, like PlayStation branded accessories have this PlayStation Link capability. It has to be all of Sony has to commit to this PlayStation Link standard. That means that every single Bluetooth headphone that you release from now on, every single thing with consumer audio, has to support this PlayStation Link thing. Even your soundbars have to support PlayStation Link, because you can imagine a scenario where a person has their TV connected to the soundbar, but then doesn't want to listen to the soundbar because they want to avoid, making noise or whatever. So then they use the PlayStation Link compatible headphones, connect through the soundbar, and then the soundbar basically beams that sound that it is receiving from the TV to the headphones, and it will be lossless, and that will be the advantage of going through that whole setup. Then it has to be supported by more than Sony, and it has to become an industry standard. And in order for it to be an industry standard, I was thinking before that they will need to approach each manufacturer. They will need to approach Sennheiser, Bowers and Wilkins, JBL, and everything, to make sure that those people put it in their products. But really, all they have to do is approach Apple. It has to be supported by Apple, because if this is part of the next iPhone or the one after that, then all of those other manufacturers are going to make it a compatible thing, and it will just be just a little dot point. It will be like Bluetooth 5.4 or something, and then it will just be like PlayStation Link compatible, and then that will be that. But I think they should change the name. I think they should call it something like Audio Link or S-Link, because just tying it to the PlayStation brand just makes it, I think, less sellable on a high-end market. Like, if you go to a Bang & Olufsen and then you're there like, oh, here are these $5,000 speakers or headphones or what have you, and here it is, and it supports Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and the Be Your Play app, and also it supports PlayStation Link. Those people buying those products will be like, what's this PlayStation Link thing? It would be better to just say it supports S-Link, and then they'll be like, oh, what is that? And you just be like, oh, it's a lossless audio format. It is also supported by certain consoles on the market. But the point is, this is a whole new standard that you have done to the exclusion of, the most common standard. It would be like if Apple had released Apple Maps, but then disabled Google Maps from use. And it's like, most people use Google Maps. So it's like, yes, you can come up with your own thing, but you shouldn't exclude the most common thing. So, Sony, you're going to have to do some work. And I'm sorry, but I don't want to buy into a format that is not going to be here in the next year. I need to have a guarantee that this is going to be part of the PlayStation 6. I need to have a guarantee that this is going to be part of the PlayStation 7. I need to have a guarantee that every single TV from you and is going to, going forward, have PlayStation Link built in, so that even if I don't have a PlayStation, it will be a lossless way for me to actually just stream audio from my TV to my headphones. And then I need other manufacturers to take it, because I'm sorry, but Sony, you do not make products to the caliber that I would enjoy. Your products, they're plastic. Your headphones, they're all made of plastic. I like all metal designs. I like high-end headphones and high-end gear. Because I've had those plastic things and I've enjoyed them and I've used them, and that's great and they're fantastic. But sometimes I just need something a little bit more. So a brand new protocol, it just gives me pause. And really, the only issue with it is that you didn't include Bluetooth headphones. Like, it just, that's a miss. But I have to say, going back to the example where I told you that I use a third-party app to connect to my Kishi, one thing that they do note is that sometimes you experience data loss or latency because you have Bluetooth headphones supported, because your Bluetooth is doing something else, and so it is interfering with the performance of the remote play experience. So then the question becomes, okay, did they do this because it will guarantee a better remote play experience, which again is understandable, and they do have wired headphone support. But it's just like, boy, it's a miss. Most people do not care about lossless audio. I'm not even sure that I care about lossless audio. I listen to Spotify, like that doesn't offer lossless audio. And while Tidal is available, it's never really been that big a push for me. And I just think it's like, yeah, I admire it. I appreciate it. I think it is important to have a lossless solution. I just don't think that should be interfering with Bluetooth. But the point is, going forward, I want the PlayStation 6 to have all of this hardware built in. I want all of the Sony TVs and Sony's consumer products to have this hardware built in, so that I can pick up $50 Sony earbuds in 2025 and they'll work with this, or I can pick up $500 top of the line Sony products and they'll work with that. On top of that, the whole industry needs to follow it. And the only way that the whole industry is going to do it, the only way you're going to convince all of those other manufacturers to include this, is if you actually work with Apple to have it built in to their iPhone. Now, they have their own process and their own protocol. You're going to have to go and convince them that they also need to have yours. And then once Apple does it, Samsung will do it. And then once Apple and Samsung do it, then it becomes an industry standard. And then, Bob will be your uncle. So, at the end of the day, $200 for the PlayStation Portal. Interesting proposition. I am not as against it as I was when I first saw it. I think at $149, US equivalent, is going to be quite tempting. So I think that the used market is going to probably get a few people to try this. But also once they do go on sale, it will be a tempting proposition, because I have missed my PlayStation Vita, but to this day I've never bought another one, because the best experiences for me on the Vita were the remote play experiences. And so being able to have this PlayStation Vita Lite could actually just hit every single thing that I want to hit. So jury's still out. We'll see exactly what happens, but not as bad as I thought.